The other way is consignment. I know that's part of the agenda tonight of how do those differ? There are other shops like mine around the country, around Massachusetts, New England, that do rent out spaces. And you gotta look to see if your product fits that store. There are some that will be very high-end, and then some that are mixed. I know my customers right now come in with, and again, they are mixed. So I have products that are, $100 and up. I have products that are $5 and under. I would say the average sale of a single item that comes out of my store is anywhere between 25 to 50 for an average single item. But again, it's how people perceive their value. Something that's here for, $25 could be maybe somewhere else, could easily sell for 50. Again, you've got to look at the local demographics you're selling. When I look at these, everything's in here that are absolutely beautiful, and I look and I'm just not in the right place that's going to sell for that price here. So I, myself, am very conservative when I'm buying or knowing what's going on in the store, knowing what, again, most of my customer base is. Most of my customers at this point is still, I would say, local. Now that doesn't mean they're limited in what they spend, because I have people come in that it's funny, you talk about how people dress, but I have some people come in and I'm like, do I want them in the store? And then next thing you know, they're bringing up $400 worth of product, and I'm thinking, I can really eat tonight? But they are buying it. And then I've had crafters, and one thing I've learned is crafters and artists brought stuff in my store, and now I only really judge off of maybe the quality to make sure it's not going to fall apart, make sure it's clean, it doesn't smell like smoke or something like that. But I've given up judging, do I think that will sell? I pretty much, if someone's willing to pay the rent and want to put it out, let's learn, let's see what happens, because there are products that I did not feel that would sell well, that have sold well. There are some that I'd be like, this is absolutely awesome, this is going to go, and it doesn't. And sometimes maybe it's price point, but my taste is not everyone else's taste. And I remember we had this one crafter that had these god-awful, ugly, in my opinion, crochet turkeys. And then there was a quilt that I probably needed to be on LSD to understand it. Okay. But I guess it was made well. So this woman comes in. Yes, that's right. So, but this woman comes in, and she was from Los Angeles, and she spent $800 in the store, and I think she needed anything bright. She showed the crochet turkeys, the quilt, and she wanted me to ship it. She spent $200 for me to ship it out to her, and I was like, yes, it's off the shelf. And it was after that I said, I give up, put it out, see what happens. A place like my store, and there are others, they're usually inexpensive enough that honestly, if you rent it for 3 months and you didn't sell a thing, it's not going to break the bank.
I have some keys for visit it.
So, as for the type of crafts that I'm looking at when I'm opening up these, if I have crafters that are renting spaces, I'm looking for crafts that are not in the store. I do not want to duplicate and buy stuff of what's in the store. That the challenge is, again, of trying to predict of what the consumers want. I like having variety. Yes, go ahead.
You stated that you had 3 different ways that people come into your business. 3 different ways.
Yes.
Consignment.
Mm-hmm.
Who makes the decision about what that relationship looks like? Do you know, depending on the product, whether they rent space, consignment, or buy out?
Great question.
Right?
Yeah. There's different reasons. Sometimes we'll get someone who might come in, they might have made, again, I'm going to use quilts. They made 2 quilts. Well, it doesn't make sense for them to rent a space to have these 2 quilts, but they might be $500 quilts. And I have to display them better or something differently. Something like that I would most likely put on consignment. And then we would negotiate, what is the fair consignment for that, because it's going to be different if you know, if it's a $100 piece or it's a $1,000 piece. So we do the same thing in the antique shop. If someone brings in a $5,000 jukebox,
Ooh.
compared to, you know, a $5 pair of shoes.
Notice how he's like, I see you.
You know, anything that's under a lower amount, we're going to take straight 50%. In the consignment, in the craft part though, usually consignment I do 30%. You know,
In which direction?
I take 30.
You take them.
I take 30. If they're renting a space, it's whatever the amount of space they rent, and I take 10%. And then if I'm buying it, I'm hoping to make gross 50%. And you know, gross is the key word there, because by the time you're done, you're lucky if you make 20% after all the expenses. But again, it's important that you go into these kind of stores. And if you're traveling, I mean, this actually, I have these great wood bowls. You've seen those wood bowls that I have in there. And this guy came in, he's from New Hampshire, and he just was traveling around. He used to design golf courses for a living, and he said the golf course business right now is down. So he makes these nice giant bowls, which I know I've seen in these catalogs for $300. And, you know, I get them at $30 to $40. I have them out at $70 to $80. They sell, you know, they don't fly off, but they sell. I mean, I'll sell maybe, you know, 20 to 30 a year. But he's happy with that.
And they're beautifully displayed on what used to be a
Yes, I still, and actually also out here, we do have Susie Howard, who now has the store right next to me, who's Shima's Boutique, which focuses mostly in baby product, but they also do have handmade products in there. And yeah, I stole her display because when we moved, it wouldn't fit in their door. So my door is an extra 6 inches larger, and it does fit in there. But that's it, how my store works. That's how, you know, I look at buying crafts. I do. The other reason I would look at these is also for inspiration of, okay, I like these, and then I'll see, are there any local crafters, are there any local artists that make things similar that might be more reasonable? I prefer, one thing Gail said is the story. I love a story, because if I'm out there selling on the floor, I love telling people that there's this 90-year-old guy who looks like a sea captain who comes in and he makes his money. I have these dollhouses that are grand, and the guy is 96 years old, and he doesn't sell them for any more than what the kits cost. You still have to build them like a real house. They go for $1,500 online. He's got them in my store for $300. I was like, are you making anything of it? He's like, it keeps me alive. He goes, I built houses all my life. People love stores like that. I have a knitter, another older gentleman, you know, in his 90s, and he's missing 4 fingers, and he worked at Krudiak Lumber all his life. And when he was young, and I don't know exactly what the illness was, but he learned to knit because he had an illness, and his grandmother taught him how to knit to keep him still, because he couldn't really go out and play. And, you know, it's those kind of things. They sound sad. I don't care. Make one up so I can pass it along. You know, like Gail and Phil, you know, they're out in the street and they're living in a box, and, you know, they all found a clump of clay and they made something, and that's how it started. So, but no, I mean, even if it's just saying, you know, most likely artists got inspired somehow of how to make their craft. I mean, maybe some just said, you know what, I want to do a business of making an art, I got to come up with a product. But usually you find there's some reason someone is making that product. And